Welcome to episode 21 of the Nintendo Newscast. This week's guests are TJ Sankula and Ricky Berg. Introducing your hosts, Amiibo Jason.
How's it going, guys? It's Amiibo Jason here with another installment of the Nintendo Newscast. We're back. It's been some time. It's been too long. It's been too long. I've said that we were going to try to be doing this on a weekly basis, and it's a lot harder than you would possibly imagine to get that kind of thing done, especially with E3. E3 just happened, and that kind of put a wrench into a lot of our newscast plans, but I promised we would be back with an E3 discussion, and by God, we are back. I could not do this alone. In fact, I couldn't do it with just one guest. I needed two. And no, it's not Happily Candied, sadly. She might be coming through the door at some point during this to wave and say hi. That's my hope. But we do have our good friend TJ and our very own Ricky Berg from NintendoWire.com to help us out with today's news. So without further ado, let's bring him on. TJ, Ricky, how the heck you doing?
Fantastic. Glad to be here.
It is good to have you back. So TJ, you have been filling in as my host for the newscast for some time, which is pretty much going to be more of a semi-permanent thing anyway. So it's good to have you back. I don't think people were not expecting to have you back. But Ricky, when was the last time we had you on a newscast?
Ooh, the last time I was on a newscast had to have been our Fire Emblem cast way back in February this year.
Man,
I know,
that was some time ago.
Mm-hmm.
So, and now we have even more Fire Emblem news to talk about, which we are going to get into. But it's fun to have this thing back. I know this episode isn't live. We had some minor technical difficulties last time we had a live episode. I think TJ got hung up on 4, 5, 6 times. Is that right?
Well, you could call them technical difficulties or just accept the fact that you did not appreciate the content of what I was saying and you just kept clicking on me.
You know what? I just actually, now that you mentioned the content, I just remembered that I owe you guys a song. I don't know if that's going to happen tonight.
Oh, yeah.
In the last newscast, I bet TJ that Xenoblade would be pushed back to 2018. And I was wrong. They said it's still coming out in 2017. I'm still not totally convinced it's coming out this year.
I was not right about all of my predictions, but I was right about that one. You should have made the Metroid bet.
That's the one I bet on. That's what drives me crazy. However, I do want to point out that Breath of the Wild initially said coming in 2015. And then the next trailer said coming in 2016. And it came out in 2017. So just because Nintendo said at E3 it's coming out this year does not put that in stone. They have a reputation for pushing things back. So part of me thinks I don't owe you a song until that sucker's on the shelf. But I could be wrong.
You might be right.
Song.
The song is still happening because the arrangement was, will it be announced as a 2017 title at E3, which it was.
Was that the arrangement, though?
I think we'll have to review the tape. You know, maybe this is a job for our adjudicators in the comments section. Let us know. Is Jason right? Does the game actually have to release before he has to pay his due? Or was the intent, the announcement that it's coming out in 2017 enough?
I don't think I'm ready for this. The last time I sang on a newscast, somebody decided to pull the live feed. They took out the segment where I sang, and they actually uploaded it as a YouTube video. Thank God not a lot of people have seen it.
That'll probably be happening again.
I won't be shocked if that does happen. I have an angelic voice. Ricky, come on, man.
I mean,
You're
I have
part of the team.
I know.
Do you have to do it?
Kinda.
Do you have to?
Okay, let me rephrase that. I really want to do it.
Okay, that makes a lot more sense. That makes a lot more sense. All right, before we go into E3 with you guys, I wanted to talk about yesterday, which was The Legend of Zelda 30th Anniversary Amiibo Day. I have a couple things I want to say about this, but before I do, I want each of you to kind of give me your thoughts of how Nintendo handled this. Did you get all 3? Did you get 1 or 2? How did you guys end up with these 3 amiibo? Ricky, why don't you start this one?
Sounds good. Yeah. So I'm 2 for 3, which I'm not really complaining about, considering I was just shooting to be 1 for 3. Majora's Mask, far and away my favorite Legend of Zelda game. So I needed to get that amiibo. That is the first time I've said that in quite a while. I still pick up amiibo. Like, I picked up Almond Celica, no problem. But this is the first time I have needed an amiibo in a long time.
Yeah.
And so, having been in Japan when all the orders were going up, I didn't have anything secured, had to make my way to a Best Buy in the morning, arrived maybe, only like half an hour before they opened, which is like not so bad by amiibo standards back in the old days, but it was one of those things where I got really lucky. They apparently had 5 extra, and there were 4 people in line when I got there. So
very nice.
Lucky number 5 right here. As for the other one, I did manage to order a Skyward Sword Link, thanks to the wonderful people at Amiibo News.
Hey!
And catching that alert right on time.
And by the way, I want to point out, we were the first on that alert. We were the first.
You were number 1?
We were number 1. Do you want to know why? Do you want to know why we were number 1? I had an alarm set up for that page, but I happened to be refreshing the page like every 15 seconds on top of that, and I had a tweet ready to go. So I'd like to think that's one of the reasons why. But we were first to it. We were first.
And thanks to that, you got it right here. So
but it's still in the box.
It's still in the box.
You gotta let it out.
Well, now we got both to show. You got your out,
That's
I got
true.
mine in. But I want to show that he's got a little bit of a ding there, which, hey, I mean, I'm going to open it anyway. But just goes to show that sometimes Amazon just can't do you right the whole way through. But I'm happy I've got it. I ain't complaining.
Well, we'll talk about that ding in a second because I feel the ding too. So you got 2 out of 3.
Yeah,
TJ,
and I wasn't trying for Twilight Princess Link, so I am perfectly happy.
All right. TJ, did you get 3 for 3?
I'm 3 for 3. And I do have to say the considerable amount of effort required to achieve 3 out of 3 is ludicrous.
Yeah.
Ever since and I got super lucky and I worked super hard. And I don't feel like that should have had to. I needed that combination of factors to be able to walk away with all 3 amiibo. The Majora's Mask one, I received a call from a friend as I was walking out the door, and he said, "Hey, I know you do these customizing things all the time, and you mentioned you want to get a bunch of these Majora's Masks. Well, I just randomly checked out at Best Buy, and it popped up. So I run over to the computer, and I pre-order it, and I call every single relative I have that I feel like I can coerce into trying to pre-order one, and a number of them were able to pre-order. They're scattered across the nation, so maybe someday I'll be able to collect some other ones for customizing. And I'm approaching it a little bit differently than some people. I know some people, you got your people who just want one precious Majora's Mask to unlock what they do in the game or to put on your shelf. Or you got some people who just want one to leave in their box. I feel for you people because this was a rough go with these 3 if you want to keep it in the box. And then you got some people who want one in the box and they want one to open up and play with. That's fine. I make no judgments about your collecting habits. There are some people who want to buy 15 of them because they want to sell them back to you for 10 times their value because of their scarcity. And then you got people like me who want 15 of them because I want to cut them up and break them and turn them into different things. And that's
people are going to be really. It's going to be mixed. It's going to be a mixed bag of emotion in the comment section for that one.
I know. And no, obviously I didn't acquire 15. It's hard enough to get
quite.
It's hard enough to get a hold of any of these. So I did go to the store and I did manage to get one on the day, and I pre-ordered one. So I have 2 of the Majora's Mask with the Skyward Sword. I have a friend who works at GameStop who called me on the day when they went up. He said, "We have 4, an allocation of 4 in our store. You better get down here fast." So I immediately drove to GameStop and I got the 4th one. And as you guys all know, that was the only way to get one. If you didn't pre-order, if I didn't get a call from somebody at the store who knows that I want it, it wouldn't have happened. And then with the Skyward Sword one, I'm driving home from Best Buy and I get a call from Jennifer Birch. I get a call from you, Jason, and they're like, go now, do it. And I was fortunate enough to already have a Prime account, so I was able to do that. And in my case, fortunately, I don't care about the quality of the box because mine was sold. Mine arrived a couple hours ago, actually, and it looked like it got run over by a car. The figure is intact, but if you were an inbox collector, you would have been very disappointed with what arrived on my doorstep. So I'm fine with it. I was going to open it anyway, but I was glad that one made it to me and not to you inbox collectors out there.
I want to point something out about that, too. So as you guys know, Skyward Sword Link was an Amazon exclusive. Every single person who had this shipped out that we have seen so far has gotten this shipped out in a bubble mailer, is the best way to put it. It's an envelope. It's an envelope with a very thin layer of bubble wrap. And if you know how cardboard boxes work with that, bubble wrap isn't doing anything to protect the integrity of that cardboard box and or the plastic. I was lucky enough, mine came absolutely flawless. But I ripped it out of the box right away, so that doesn't really matter. There was a lot of horror stories I saw on the Our Amiibo subreddit that I saw on Twitter of people having absolutely crushed boxes. You would think that they would have learned their lesson at this point, especially when they're the only game in town. They're the only place you can get that particular Amiibo. You would have at least you would have thought that they would have put that into at least a cardboard box. We are so late in the game. We are 2 years running of this like Amiibo game being the way it is, and they know people are going to complain. I've seen people saying that, I'm returning this to Amazon, I want a refund, and Amazon is apparently shelling out some refunds to people that have destroyed boxes. But I'm curious to see this will be the final thing on this one before I kind of go into my mini rant about these Amiibo. Are you guys satisfied? Do you think Amazon could have done a better job with these?
Well, yeah.
Well, go ahead, TJ.
I'm torn on it. At first, I was really shocked that it was a Prime exclusive, and I think it's fine that they're doing right by their own most dedicated users, but I also felt like there was no warning for people who didn't have Prime accounts that would have definitely signed up for a Prime account in advance if they knew that they had to in order to buy this Amiibo. And so I thought that was kind of some dirty pool until I remembered back into the days of the Lucina restock, and there were people who had set up bots to purchase the entire lot of them right away with all these accounts. And so Amazon essentially had it up for like 2 seconds, if at all. And by forcing you to have to first have a Prime account and then that requiring a separate email, it does prevent that. So it at least mitigates some of the scalping issue. And even further with the destroyed boxes, I know that there are legitimate collectors out there who are not looking to peddle these and profit off of people's desperation to acquire them, that just want to have a nice looking box. But by having these boxes heavily dinged up in some cases, it does discourage scalping of them because people are going to be less incentivized to try to buy a box that's not in good condition. So I'm torn. I think that they do have an obligation to people to send it nice so that at least it looks presentable. But because of I'm certain of high number of scalpers who are just wanting to exploit people, I kind of hope that their boxes are dinged up and that they can't really move it as easily or for as high of a price as they hoped.
That's an interesting. I never thought about the bot thing before. About maybe that's one of the reasons why it was a Prime exclusive. Maybe they also knew it was going to sell out instantly. But I agree. I feel like there should have been a better way. They should have at least told people far in advance that this was something that you required Prime for. Because I think the biggest thing was we saw a lot of our younger fans more upset that they're like, I don't have Prime. My mom said I could get this, but we don't have Prime. She's not going to sign up for it. Now I can't get this Amiibo. So I think that was kind of a low blow to a lot of Amiibo fans. But Ricky, your final thoughts on this?
Yeah, I've had decent luck with Amazon in the past. Like I ordered Lucina from them during that 2 second window. I got really lucky. They sent it in a box, and I got Politane when she was their exclusive. Got that, no problem. Also in a box. And now I've got this one. So, I mean, as far as availability, fortunate enough, I have a Prime account. It's never been an issue. But I agree, some kind of word ahead of time letting us know, hey, this is going up on the release date. and only for Prime customers. Because if anything, that gets more people to try Prime, even if it's just the free trial. They're moving their subscription, so it doesn't really make sense to me why they wouldn't want to do it. And as far as how they're shipping them, I just hope that they're not shifting to the bubble mailers as the standard, because I would hate for that to be what anyone who ever orders from Amazon has to look forward to, especially when they've come in boxes before and they've been more or less fine there. So
and
I
the
hope
Prime
this...
discount's gone too. So I mean,
Yeah.
that's another thing that I think a lot of Amiibo fans on Amazon are a little salty about. So
Yeah,
bubble
for sure.
mailers, no Prime discount,
Especially-
and then having to have Prime.
Right. I mean, I just hope that it's not the standard. If this was like a learning experience all around, and hey, maybe we'll even see another wave come in the somewhat near future. But as is, hey, good luck to all you who did get them and are still waiting to pick them up in the mail.
Exclusives are the most consumer non-friendly method you can possibly distribute something that's in high demand like Amiibo. When the 30th anniversary ones first came out and you had those 4, I remember driving from Target to Best Buy to GameStop and doing my best through all of the different channels available to me to be able to get a hold of these. And they weren't that rare. And most stores had a bunch of them. People weren't clamoring to get them. It was pre-Breath of the Wild days. So I was able to easily get a hold of as many as I needed for whatever custom projects I had, and there was still plenty left for everybody else. In this day and age, I feel like, and I'm being completely honest with you guys, I want a lot of these. I have guilt. Like if I saw them on the shelf, and for the projects that I want to work on for Custom Conquest, the show that you guys may very well have seen, I feel guilty if I'm going to buy these when I know that there are people who are really hurting to get them. And that, I don't like that Nintendo created a situation where I have to feel bad about buying a product. Why is that? I don't know.
I feel like part of this is my fault. On newscasts before, I've said I miss the hunt. I miss the scarcity. But this is the worst I've ever seen it. And this is going to move me. I'm going to briefly touch on this, because I've been contemplating this for a bit. This is the very first time I've had an issue getting an Amiibo, ever. I did not order a Twilight Princess Link Amiibo on GameStop for the very reason I didn't want to pay $6 for shipping. So I thought I would have no issue walking into my GameStop and pre-ordering one there, and they said they were sold out. So again, I thought, this has happened before. No biggie. I'll get there at like 5 or 6 in the morning. I'll hang out with some fellow diehard Amiibo fans, and it's going to be a blast. And the day before, I called every single GameStop in a 50-mile radius, and every single one has said the same thing. We have just enough for the pre-orders, and that's it. This is the very first time I have not had an Amiibo on launch day in the US. I have the QB Amiibo from Japan. I have the Monster Hunter Amiibo Wave 1 and 2 from Japan. I have duplicates of almost every Amiibo that's ever come out. I feel sort of dead inside. I feel like I have to give up my Amiibo crown, as it were, because these are the 2 I got. I got Majora's Mask and Skyward Sword. I have this big Twilight Princess hole in my heart at the moment. Luckily, I did order one from Germany. It's passing through customs at the moment, so I will have it sometime next week. But it feels weird that I have to import like an Amiibo that is in the US. It's out here, and I cannot find it anywhere. But yeah, I mean, that's all I'm going to say on it. I feel like in the past where I've said I miss the hunt and I miss the scarcity, I might be eating my words, because this was probably the most difficult launch I've seen for Amiibo since probably the end of 2014.
It's the worst, because Wave 4 was the worst. The one that broke GameStop. You had, I think, 4 exclusives that all came out simultaneously. Yeah. And you had to like figure out what store you're going to get to. But it was possible to get them all. This is 3 store exclusives released simultaneously, and you for sure cannot get all of them on the day. In fact, you can't get any of them on the day except for maybe Majora's Mask if you get super lucky, if you had no pre-orders. And that's lame.
Totally agree. Somebody's Miitomo just went off.
That was mine. Miitomo was telling me, in case you guys are interested, that there is a second impersion. So I think that's some kind of cat joke.
Very nice. Now that I'm thinking about it, because we're finally going to be moving into the E3 stuff, even though I think we could all just talk about this for the next 2 hours if we wanted to. But I do want to touch base on the new Amiibo. Part of me is thinking I should have made this an Amiibo newscast, since we're going to be talking about Amiibo probably for half of this. But we have a lot of other Amiibo stuff to cover. We have 13 brand new Amiibo that were announced, and that is not including all of the other Super Smash Bros. Amiibo that are coming out next month. Before I go into just ranting about these, I wanted to give TJ a few moments to discuss the champions.
Yes.
Ricky, I'm going to give you the Super Mario Odyssey Wedding Amiibo.
Absolutely.
And I'm going to touch on a little bit of those too. And then we have a couple other ones to talk about as well. But TJ, why don't you take us home with the Champions Amiibo from Breath of the Wild?
So in Jason's pre-E3 predictions cast that I was on, Jason said, what is the one thing that you want from E3? And even before I answered, I knew it wasn't going to happen. I was hoping we were going to be able to see the 3 exclusives because I realized that might be the only chance I have to see them anytime in the near future. And they were there and they looked great. But I said, I want more Zelda Amiibo. I want to see a whole new line launched. And I knew it would never happen. And boom! They gave us all 4 champions, and they look just amazing. I can't believe the detail of these sculpts. For the first time, I liked the Breath of the Wild Amiibo that they did before. I was a little bit miffed by the $15.99 price tag because there wasn't a discernible differentiation in quality between those and the other ones that they were selling for the same price. But I look at these and I'm like, all right, you know what? They obviously took a lot of work. It's clear that the profit margin on a Kirby is a lot higher than the profit margin on a Bowser, but Nintendo decided as to not create the impression that some of their characters are worth more than others, they decided to just pick a median price, and it affects their profits depending on which one they're selling. But I look at these ones and I'm like, they're amazing. All right, fine. Take my money. Take all my money. I will take those 4 Amiibo, and I will gladly add them to my collection. I don't care what they do. Well, I do very much care what they do, but I'm going to buy them irregardless of their functionality, even though my mind has not stopped spinning about what can it be. I've been asking people in the community. My first thought was maybe they help unlock some of the weapons that they grant you access to in the game that once they break, it's hard to repair. Somebody else was like, and I think this might be likely, maybe they refill their meters. Like if you used Mifa's Grace, you won't have to have the cooldown time, or it'll expedite the cooldown time a little bit, or it'll maybe add an extra one to it on top of whatever number they allow for that particular skill. Yeah. I think that would be super cool. It would be awesome. It may potentially have some game-breaking elements, but with Rivali in particular, sometimes you don't want to wait, and you don't want to climb it. You could climb it, but it's a way for you to explore the world a little bit faster, and that's awesome. So I'm down. And if, who knows? Maybe Nintendo even has some other super cool idea about how they're going to be integrated. But I think maybe they didn't get released with the line at the beginning. At first, I thought it was a spoiler thing. Like you could beat the game without ever even really encountering any of the champions. And so maybe Nintendo just didn't want to give you such a full disclosure of who the champions are. But now I think it might have a little bit more to do with the DLC in specific, like the functionality of those Amiibo might relate to Pack 2 in a way where their usefulness may not be as pertinent now as at the launch of the game. So I don't know. I don't want to think too Blood Moon in the sky like some of our previous casts where it just winds up being a stealth boost or whatever.
That's heartbreaking, by the way.
But I could probably gush about these forever. I spent the majority of E3 wiping my own drool off that glass case and snapping copious amounts of pictures. I love them. They're amazing. And Nintendo did make my E3 dreams come true this year.
So, real quick,
they're all going to be retail exclusives. They're going to roll back on what they did.
They're not.
I know. I pre-ordered them. I pre-ordered them all already, twice, and strongly.
So we have Daruk, Urbosa, Rivali, and Mifa. The one thing you were mentioning before is that you think that they're going to unlock weapons and possibly refill their meters. Each one of these are carrying their signature weapon that they use in the game, or that they were at least featured with in the game. So I think the weapons thing is, I'm guessing that's a pretty safe bet that that they're going to do something with weapons. But as you mentioned before, these are not retail exclusives. The last time I checked, I think Walmart still has all 4 of these up except for Mifa. So I'm hoping that we're going to see better stock of these things. They didn't sell out like in a moment's notice this time. So maybe we're going to have some better luck when these things come out this holiday season. So these are 4 of 13. Let's talk about number 5, number 6, and number 7, Ricky.
Yes. So Super Mario Odyssey absolutely blew me away with the presentation they had for it at this year's E3. And a big part of that was these 3 amiibo. We've got, it's sort of a mixed kind of bag because it is another version of Mario, Peach, and Bowser. We've gotten existing alternates of those already.
Yeah.
That said, these look amazing. And having seen them in person, I'd like to think that I've got enough credence to say that these look amazing. The poses, the outfits, everything about them is just so befitting of not just the characters themselves and how they fit in with that kind of setting, but just the feel of Mario Odyssey. These are Mario Odyssey amiibo. These aren't just Super Mario amiibo. These aren't Super Smash Bros. Amiibo. These are Super Mario Odyssey amiibo. And they wear that proudly. And they wear that with style because that Bowser is looking fresh. That said,
Dapper.
Yes. It's one of those things where as far as functionality goes, I believe that they've just said that they will unlock gameplay assistance and costumes or outfits. Or those are the 2 phrasings I keep seeing. So I don't have high hopes for what they're going to do. If anything, they might just allow those outfits to be worn, particularly for Mario. What they might do with respect to Bowser and Peach, I don't know. But it's still going to tie into the wedding theme of the game, and I definitely want to pick these ones up.
So, okay, some of you might know this, some of you might not. So I got engaged the day before these things got announced, and thank you. The fabulous Miss Gondakris made us this custom amiibo that was just fantastic. It's going to be what we're going to be putting on top of our wedding cake. It's brilliant. And then the very next day, they announced these wedding amiibo, which I think couldn't have happened at a better time. I'm wondering if Nintendo knows that there's people out there that want Nintendo cake toppers. There's plenty of people I know that would put these on the top of their cakes. I have a feeling these things. Oh yeah, you can come. Happily Candied, come in.
Speaking of,
Happily Candied can't come in apparently.
Sorry. There you go.
Okay, so she brought it in. There we go. I thought there was an emergency. She came in with such force. But yeah, there is the custom amiibo by Gondakris. It's absolutely perfect. This is displayed right above our fireplace right now. But yeah, I think Nintendo knows that these things are going to be on shelves for a while, and I think a lot of people are going to be picking these things up to be, used on their very own wedding cakes. Again, I think that this is a very odd direction for Nintendo to go, to have them in like their wedding outfits, because I don't necessarily think it's the most. I don't know if I know a lot of like younger kids that want like a wedding dress like Peach on their shelf, but I think it's definitely going to sell like hotcakes. So I think they're pretty cool. So you said they unlock clothing and then some gameplay assistance?
Gameplay assistance is, I believe, the wording that they keep using. Yeah.
Gotcha. So these things are going to be out in October when Super Mario Odyssey launches as well. So it comes in a 3-pack too. We have no idea what the 3-pack looks like, but they're going to be sold individually if you want to buy them separately as well. I do want to touch base real quick before we get into like the other bigger amiibo. The two probably the amiibo that flew under the radar the most was the Koopa Troopa and the Goomba.
Yes.
They fall, it looks like, in just the standard Super Mario line. There's nothing too special about them. They are not, from what I understand, Super Mario Odyssey branded in any way, shape, or form.
They are not.
But they were announced at the exact same time, and there is one official image that has all 5 of those amiibo up at the same time. But if you're looking to like display additional bad guys on your shelf, I know that I have the end level display. I think PDP made that one. Was it PDP? Now I'm questioning myself. I'm almost positive it was.
It was them or Hori.
Yeah. So we have that one. So I'm going to pick those up and throw them somewhere around that display. But again, those are probably the two that or at least had the least fanfare in general.
Yeah.
The next two, though, because that's what, 9? So we have 3 more or 4 more. We have 4 more.
4 more.
So we have. Should we go Metroid first?
Yeah, you got that image right there.
Okay, let's go Metroid. We have it on the screen right now. We have Metroid coming from a brand new 3DS title called Metroid: Samus Returns, which is a reimagining. I don't want to say a remake. It's a reimagining of Metroid Prime 2 or Metroid 2, excuse me, that was originally released in 1990 on the Game Boy. 1990 or 1991, one of the two. But these two are very interesting. Are any of you like diehard Metroid fans?
I wouldn't say diehard. We've definitely got a couple of diehards on the staff, but I'm really excited about these ones just from figure standpoints alone, for a couple of reasons. One, that Samus pose is the Metroid 2 box art. Like that is mimicking it perfectly, and it looks beautiful. It's the Varia suit again. It's looking nice and shiny. But more striking, of course, is the Metroid itself. One, busting out of the capsule. That's an iconic thing. But two, this is the first, well, I'll say, textured amiibo in the sense that we've got when you touch it, it's squishy. It's like
squishy.
It's so cool, man.
It's so cute.
You can just poke the Metroid all day, every day.
That sounds so bad in the wrong context.
I mean, I didn't put it there. You did, Jason. But it's still one of those things where, like, on that alone, I want to get this. It's the same thing that happened with the Squid Sisters. They announced that they got that kind of glitter paint going, which they're bringing back for Wedding Peach, by the way. And it's just one of those things that gets me excited. That shows me the more of the possibilities that they have with Amiibo. We've seen something new with the Guardian Amiibo with its bendable legs. Now we got Squishy Metroid. What's next? Like, I'm loving it.
So, I think a lot of people just wanted another Samus Amiibo. The very first one that came out, it was it's incredibly light, and it's detailed, but not anywhere near as detailed as Samus on this one. And again, the Metroid one is by far one of the most interesting looking Amiibo I've seen to date. So again, these things are going to be coming out in September. Is that right?
Yes, they're launching alongside the 3DS game, which is, I believe, September 15th.
And we get that in a 2-pack.
Yes.
So TJ, any thoughts on the Metroid Amiibo before we move on to the last two?
I'm mostly in agreement with you guys. I'm not a huge Metroid fan, but I have great respect for the character, and I enjoy all references to Samus and Metroid in other games like Smash Brothers. And going back to the original Smash Brothers, I love Samus as a character. Seeing them as Amiibo does fill me with a great sense of joy, because Metroid, to me, is such an integral part of who Nintendo is and what Nintendo's about, and my own connection to it from the NES days, that even though it's a game I don't really play, I still, for some reason, have this strong attachment to it. And I like that it's still so current. And it reminds me that all of these Smash Brothers Amiibo that have cool functionality in games, like they'll unlock a costume in Mario Kart, some of them are pretty much impossible to find. You can't walk into just any store and find a Samus Amiibo anymore. I guess there are a few out there from the reprint, but it's hard to do. And rather than continue to be re-releasing this original Smash line, I like that Nintendo is reimagining the characters and releasing them in a new capacity, in a different pose, and allow you to get them in another way. And I hope that they continue that trend.
They love that money.
You'd think, but then going back to our first discussion, come on, if they really loved money, they'd have made 100,000 more of those Link Amiibo.
They know what they're doing. They're getting the hype train up to like record speeds, and then they're going to slowly trickle it in. And then they're finally going to just release a crap ton of them. And people are going to say, should I buy it? Should I not buy it? I better buy it in case it sells out again. And people that might not have got it before are going to pick it up no matter what. I think they have to be smarter than what it seems like they are. But who knows? I could be wrong. I've said that in the past, and they've yet to restock certain Amiibo. So the final two Amiibo, Ricky, I'm going to give you the honor to talk about, because for the most part, I'm not really a major Fire Emblem fan.
Right.
I'm playing through Echoes. Echoes is fun.
Good.
But it's not my complete cup of tea. So when they announced these two, it's not like I was jumping out of my seat. But go ahead.
So we have two new Fire Emblem Amiibo joining us. These are going to be Chrom and Tiki. Chrom, of course, being from Fire Emblem Awakening, and he's also shown up in kind of a cameo position in Super Smash Bros. And Tiki is a recurring character from the very, very first Fire Emblem, also Awakening, and has shown up, like, pretty much if there's a Fire Emblem reference, there's a good chance that Tiki can be a part of that. Yeah. So seeing these ones come along, that makes me happy. As someone who loves this series, seeing that representation is incredible. I know people have been asking for Chrom, too, at least within certain circles, just because he's more recognizable than, say, Almond Celica, who are both, like, deep cuts, but also fresh faces, whereas Chrom is someone that everyone who got into Fire Emblem on that kind of revival that Awakening brought in, they all know Chrom. They all love Chrom. As for Tiki, that's another one of these deep cuts. It's even using, I believe, the artwork from the DS release of Fire Emblem Shadow Dragon. So that just shows how far they're willing to go to just kind of show these things in, I don't want to say their original form, but in a way that is true to the characters and to the games themselves. Their bases match with Almond Celica's, with the red base and then kind of that stone sort of texture to them. So this is a continuation of an existing line, which is cool. That just means that there is a greater chance for more Fire Emblem amiibo in the future. And with Fire Emblem Warriors coming out, I think that's a good thing. That's what they're tied to. That's, I believe, when they're releasing, but no word on what they're going to do with that game. But that said, very excited. Happy to have them along with the rest of the Fire Emblem crew.
So let me ask you this. Has Almond Celica been announced for Warriors?
They have not. No, not as playable characters.
So would you imagine, because they're using the same base, that we're going to see them have some sort of like are they going to be a playable character? Are they going to be maybe an assist character? Anything like that?
I would say that if anyone from Gaiden can get in, it would be Almond Celica. They are the faces of that game. That said, with Warriors, they've kind of hinted that most of the representation is going to come from the very first Fire Emblem, Awakening, and Fates. Those are the three that are most recognizable across all regions, not just Japan, not just America. So their chances from that angle are unfortunately not as high as I'd like them to be. But if anyone from that game can get in, it would be them. Whether it would be just tied to the amiibo or not remains to be seen. I kind of hope not, but since Chrom is in the game by default, I don't think amiibo character unlocks are going to be a thing for that game. At least I kind of hope so. But Almond Celica are readily available as figures, so if so, at least you can get them.
We're going to be talking about more of that, just kind of the details of the game a little bit further into the cast. Before we move on to the next subject, do either of you have any additional comments on any of the amiibo-related news that we saw at E3 this year?
Only to piggyback off what you said about the Fire Emblem ones, we've already seen the implementation of amiibo in a Warriors game before with Hyrule Warriors, and so I think it's highly likely that it's going to be something very similar where if you have a particular amiibo, it's going to unlock a special weapon for that character. But that seems likely with Tiki and Chrom, but they're the only two characters. Well, Marth, I guess, is the only other character who has an amiibo who's been confirmed as a character, unless I'm forgetting somebody. But
Corrin.
Oh, Corrin, right.
Corrin.
Also, real quick, Tiki hasn't been confirmed as a character. It's likely, but she hasn't been confirmed as a playable character for the game.
Oh, if that amiibo isn't confirmation, then I don't know what is.
Right. How else would they have announced her?
Yeah, I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just making that statement because at the time she is not confirmed to be playable. But I would say that it's very likely. That's a very distinct, not only character, but a class for Fire Emblem. So her as a character makes so much sense.
And as far as Fire Emblem popularity goes, if a character has an amiibo, they're hands down the most popular character. So I have to think that those ones from Smash Brothers are going to... They're certainly going to have some functionality, but it would surprise me if they did not also have some sort of representation, because that's only going to go a long way to push the game. They reach real deep with the cuts for Hyrule Warriors. And
the DLC, though.
I think we could string the DLC along forever. Like Roy and Corrin already were DLC for Smash Brothers. Yeah. So there's no reason to think that Fire Emblems might not be like, hey, it worked over there, let's do it again. And there's some amiibo already. This is an opportunity to even re-release or repose other Fire Emblem characters that already exist in amiibo form.
I think
I would buy
go
them.
ahead.
I would buy them.
I don't even care about Fire Emblem to that extent, and I would still buy them because I'm a sucker. And there's a lot of suckers out there like me who just want every single amiibo. And even if you don't appreciate the game, even like you have to appreciate the work that has gone into some of these amiibo. Like the Almond Celica amiibo are probably my two least favorite amiibo that have been released in the past year. I even like QB more, who's just like a little piece of tofu. But it's just because I don't really appreciate the Fire Emblem series like a lot of Fire Emblem fans do. But they're still cool looking amiibo. They have very cool bases. There's something to admire about them if you're a fan of just amiibo in general. So if they come out with more, I'm sure that everybody, at least in my position, are going to keep buying them.
I can't believe that you don't like green-haired armored Marth.
You don't like green-haired armor bar?
Is that what we're calling her now?
That's Alm, right? Green-haired armored Marth.
Yes, Alm is
Wait, does Alm have green hair?
Yeah, he
Does he?
On the amiibo?
Yeah. It's like
Oh man, where is it? I think my
Man, if Ben heard this, no, Alm is like known green hair.
Why did I forget? Oh yeah, there is the green hair. How did I forget that? I just thought it was like a dirty brown, like a really dirty, brown,
I'm hanging up.
like a sewage level brown. All right, before I get murdered, we're gonna wrap up the amiibo section here. We're going to go like through speed round on all of the other topics that we pretty much that we got to experience at E3 this year. All three of us had the luxury of going to E3, experiencing some of these games. However, we did go into detail about a lot of these games on the Daily Wiretap, which you guys can go back and take a look at older episodes of that from last week if you want like super, super in-depth stuff. But we are going to go a little bit in-depth on every one of the games that we had our hands on. Rather than just go down the line, I'm going to give each of you the opportunity to let me know what you want to talk about first. So, TJ, what game do you want me to bring up first?
Well, I think I played all of them, but the one that had the biggest impression on me was probably Mario and Rabbids Kingdom Battle.
All right, let's bring it up. Mario and Rabbids Kingdom Battle. Luckily, Ricky, I know you played this one too. You had some one-on-one time with the good folks at Ubisoft. Luckily, I did not get the opportunity to play that. I did not play this one, but luckily I did get the opportunity to record Ricky as he played it. But TJ, why did this one have the biggest impression on you?
Well, I remember you talking about how you think the Rabbids are kind of like the minions of the video game world, and I came in with no idea of anything about them. So I'm pretty much a clean slate on Rabbids.
Yeah.
But I didn't understand the game. The game was not communicated to me. I got that the Mario characters are in there, and I bring my own experience and knowledge base on those characters. I know nothing of the Rabbids, but I can surmise from their goofiness and their Mario costumes that somehow they're being integrated into the Mushroom Kingdom. But what is this game? Is it a platformer? Is it a strategy game I heard tossed around? Is it an RPG? So it hadn't really quite made it hadn't clearly asserted its presence as what it was. And I needed to play it. And as soon as I played it, I immediately understood, okay, I got this. It's like wacky chess where I take my turn.
Is that a real game?
No.
I just wanted to make sure. What is wacky chess?
No, it's like chess if the characters can do crazy things and can do team-ups on some attacks, and you're just strategically trying to move yourself around this grid, and you have objectives that usually involve attacking the other team, but maybe not necessarily. But it's one of those things where I feel like if I were to try to explain to a person what the game is about, I would be doing it a disservice. I think the only way you sell people on this game is to give them this game. I'm really hoping that they just drop the demo that we played at E3 on the eShop for free and let people play it, and I think that they'll sell gangbusters. But if you just kind of let the game move on its own based on the Mario and Rabbids name recognition alone, you're really not doing yourself any favors.
So I want to point out, though, the collector's edition of this game is a GameStop exclusive. That thing sold out like in record time. I could not believe that. Number one, because a lot of people weren't sold on this idea to begin with. And number two, the big draw to this collector's edition was a gigantic version of this. This was given away at the Ubisoft press event. Ricky was lucky enough to pick me up one of these. Bless your heart, Ricky. But it's not an amiibo. It's not like it's anything that I think a lot of Nintendo fans would go absolutely insane for. And number two, it's Ubisoft. From what I understand, Ubisoft is not like Nintendo when it comes to a lot of their collector's editions, and they want to sell as many as humanly possible. I don't think I've seen a collector's edition of an Ubisoft game sell out in an hour anywhere, unless I'm completely wrong. But it was gone in GameStop within about an hour. It went back up, I think, for like about a half hour, and that was it. Another thing that I missed a pre-order on, I was actually traveling when the pre-orders went up, unfortunately, so I missed out on that one. I'm hoping it does go up again. But yeah, I think that a lot of Nintendo fans that were upset about this game, and they were not even just upset. I think the right word is offended. People were offended that the Rabbids and Mario were joining forces. And the moment I saw the very first leaked concept art, I was already sold before I even knew what the game was, because it looked like it was just this thing that did not take Mario too seriously. It just looks silly and fun and amazing, and I'm ready for it. I'm ready for something new, and if this succeeds, in which I think it will, I think Nintendo is going to take a lot more risks with collaborations, and that's what I'm really hoping for. Ricky, with your hands-on time, you got to actually chat up an Ubisoft employee while you were playing this, so I know you have a little bit of inside information about this game as well. So what are your thoughts?
Yeah, no, okay, so I wouldn't say offended, but I was very much indifferent about this game when the initial leak happened. It was just, okay, it's happening. I was at the Ubisoft press conference. I saw Miyamoto take the stage, and like I saw the game's unveiling, and that was when I got on board, because this game looks great. It does look like it's true to Mario, and it's true to the Rabbids in terms of spirit. It's not offending, in any way in terms of, no, they can't do that to Mario. They can't do that to Luigi. Luigi's too precious. Like, no, this is fine. This is good. Like, I played it, and it left a very good impression on me. It actually leaves room for thinking. This is like, if Codename Steam were good, like, it's actually one of those things where I'm able to enjoy planning my routes through the little maps that they had, their exploration phases between them. I hope that they get a little more in-depth over time, because those were a little sparse. But again, I was being shown the very beginning of the game. But what got me was there's RPG elements here as well. I found chests, and I unlocked more weapons for Mario, for the Rabbids I was controlling, and I was able to upgrade those, and I was able to buy more, and I was able to equip them as I saw fit. There's varying stats that come into play, like, okay, this enemy is weak to being bounced around the battlefield, so I should approach it with this weapon, and I should hit it from this angle. Boom, it's bounced off the stage, and I'm doing good, and I'm getting coins, and I'm buying more weapons. It's awesome. Like, I was able to plan out my moves and see them unfold in a way that was funny. Like, they're making the most of these Rabbids characters. They're known for slapstick, they're known for being goofy, and they're not shying away from that. They're embracing it in a way that is both true to each of the sources.
And they can get away with things that Mario on, like, the Mario universe on its own cannot get away with.
Right.
Which I think we've mentioned before.
And they're being true to that too, because if you like watch Mario and gang's expressions, like, they're kind of like, what are these guys doing? Like, I think what really sold me on it was seeing Peach's animations in the initial trailer, because she's just kind of like, what? Is this okay? Like, it felt like so. I'd never seen Peach like that in any sort of anything, but it was like, yep, that's Peach, and that's what she would be like in this situation. They're nailing it, and I can't wait to see more.
It's really.
Go ahead.
It's really the contrast that I think it won me over instantly, because we already have a frame of reference for our Nintendo characters. We have a long-standing expectation of how they behave and what they do. And so when we can see them contrasted right next to these Rabbids who are cosplaying as them or who are impersonating them, it makes all the Nintendo characters the straight character, and then all the Rabbids like their derpy counterpart, and that is really funny. It makes it funnier than if the Mario characters weren't there as the baseline.
Yeah.
Right.
I think
the
there was
Ubisoft.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, the guy that spoke with me as I was playing it said that these Rabbids are fans of the characters before they even met them. So it's like they're standing in for not just the Rabbid side of things, but just Nintendo fans in general. Like, how excited would you be if you were hanging out with Mario and Luigi and going around and shooting piranha plants? It would be, yes, you're taking selfies the whole time. You get it, TJ.
That would be me. I'd be the Peach Rabbit.
And no. Happily Candid would be the Peach Rabbit for sure.
So it's just, they get it, and they're showing that they get it in the best way. It was a blast to play. It was a blast to see, and it won me over pretty dang easily.
I know that there was one scene that I never thought I'd see in a Mario title, and the big Donkey Kong Rabbit picked up one of the characters and wiped his butt with the other character. And then kind of like, did you guys see this one?
I didn't see
Can't say that I did, no.
Okay, hang on. Just hang on 1 second. I gotta pull this up.
The Donkey Kong is already my favorite thing about it. I think he is the best. If that truly happened, then I'm going to pre-order the game right now. I don't even know if it'll Switch yet. I'll pre-order it.
Watch me be completely dead wrong about it, and now I'm going to be totally embarrassed.
Again, you're going to break my heart with expectations that are better than the real thing.
Is there another?
Oh man!
There's a screenshot of it. I'm trying to find the videos. So hang on.
Yup.
Yeah, hang on. There's a video that makes it better.
No.
Did we just find the thumbnail? I think we just found the thumbnail.
Hang on. I'm going to find this.
That's good.
It. Oh, where is it? It's gonna kill me that I can't find it.
That's priceless.
What
okay,
it does with this time.
The Googling I'm doing right now is really risky. I'm just like Donkey Kong wipe butts.
Yeah, you are definitely
okay, you know what?
There.
I can find the video, but you're gonna have to take my word for it based on this screenshot.
You have convinced me. I'm convinced.
The scary there's a very scary part about this screenshot. Number one, it's Rabbid Peach, and number two, it looks like her tongue is out.
I think like as a rabbit, you're contractually obligated to have your tongue out like 80% of the time anyway. So I don't know if I would call that normal behavior, but that picture definitely isn't normal behavior.
I wouldn't be surprised if she snaps a selfie sometime during this whole ordeal.
Oh, right.
The name of this picture is called Rabbid Kong Ass Floss.
Did you name it that?
I did not name it that. I just found it. Thank you very much.
Well done.
Oh,
All
man.
right, folks. This game is coming out on August 29th on the Nintendo Switch. Is that right, the 29th? I believe it's the 29th or 30th.
That's the 29th.
29th. We're going to pick it up. We plan on buying it. Luckily, it looks like we should be getting a review copy of this one as well, so expect to hear our first impressions on this game. Sooner than that, hopefully sometime in early August, we should have our first impressions of the game out there for you.
Hopefully.
Ricky, you're up next. What game do you want to talk about?
Ooh. Man, if I gotta pick a showstopper, it's gotta be Super Mario Odyssey.
Oh, I was expecting Kirby from you, but okay.
No, because there's not as much to say on Kirby.
That's right.
The entire team can attest to Kirby being the biggest reaction for me, and we'll get to that. But as far as what I played at E3, Super Mario Odyssey was fantastic. First off, that reveal trailer, they know, because you see that dinosaur. I'm looking at it right now on our own screen, and as soon as you see the cap, and later you see the mustache, this is both the most Mario thing I've seen and the least Mario thing I've seen. And I just saw Rabbid Peach like wedged into a Donkey Kong butt. Like, it's one of those things where this game is everything I've wanted from a Mario game, but I never knew I wanted from a Mario game. And playing it, it feels like not only just a natural progression of the Mario 64 and the Mario Sunshine titles, but also Galaxy in terms of control and feel. Like, subconsciously, I shook my Joy-Con to do this kind of the spinning attack thing without being told that that was a way to activate it, just because I've played so much Galaxy, and it worked. It was exactly what I expected there, and that was just a cool little moment. And the stages themselves, they're alive. They've got little NPCs going around them. I love the Skelly-Mans inside the desert stage, and then you've got the awkwardly human residents of New Donk City. Like, everything about this game is so off the wall in the best way. And we got a theme song. So it's got its own theme song. And just the overall, not just the presentation, but the feel are so true. It's just a really good game in the sense of games are fun. This game is unbelievably fun to play. There's secrets to find. There's areas to explore. It is Mario as you remember it and as you love it.
I do want to point this out, that we have August, we have Mario Rabbids. September, we have Metroid. October, we have Super Mario Odyssey. November, we have Xenoblade, supposedly. Maybe not. You never know. This year's insane.
You left out July, Splatoon 2.
Very true. And don't forget, we also have in November and December, we have DLC Pack 2 for Legend of Zelda. This is one hell of a year to be a Nintendo fan.
And it's next week, next Friday, we get DLC Pack 1, which is going to consume a lot of my time.
Oh,
that's going to take up way too much of my time. We're going to get into that one next, I promise. Yeah. Really quick, I want to give you my impressions on what I saw of the game. I did not get to play this game, which is a heartbreaker. I tried. The second day of E3, I sprinted, and they already shut the line down by the time I got there. For me, we had enough meetings in that day where waiting in line for 3 hours to play the game wasn't doable. But luckily I got to watch a lot of people play it. I got to watch a lot of gameplay videos. I watched the entire Treehouse presentation of this game. This is what I've been looking for a while. Super Mario 3D World was fun. It was fun, but it lacked any charm that Super Mario 64, Super Mario Sunshine, or Super Mario Galaxy gave me. It was just this, I kind of felt like this linear, uninspired world, where this is the most inspired thing I think I've ever seen. I've never seen Mario, with an acoustic guitar, playing guitar in this cantina, turning into a dinosaur, possessing people, even though I think the official term is capturing people. He's possessing him. Let's just be honest.
He didn't possess a chain chomp. He captured a chain chomp and gave it adorable blue eyes.
Okay, let me bring this up. When he captures a bullet bill and then thrusts that bullet bill against his will into a wall, killing him, what do you call that?
I call that the natural existence of a bullet bill. I never said it was a good existence, but it's all he knows.
It's the saddest thing I've ever heard in my life. TJ, you got a chance to play the game.
I did. And I got to watch announcer Jared play the extended demo in the Nintendo Lounge. And so I got a lot of
controller.
With the Pro Controller, which I consider myself a motion control advocate. I generally prefer motion control if that's an option. And I found Mario not to be the case. Maybe I would acclimate to it over time, but I've been playing a lot of Super Mario 3D World because my daughter loves it. And this game feels really slow by comparison. And I remember after E3 last year, I said the same thing about Zelda. As I'm like, oh, Link sure feels slow after Hyrule Warriors. So I kind of have that same impression of this. But what I'm hoping is that all of the different captured beings or creatures in this world are going to have different movement properties. And so I imagine that a bullet bill might be able to move a little bit faster than Mario can with his own two legs. But the most noticeable difference is there's no run button. So what I found myself doing was constantly trying to depress a run button to make him go faster. And the way you do his movement in this is the same as the other 3D Mario games, Super Mario 64 and Super Mario Sunshine, where if you just move the analog stick a little bit, he moves slowly or crawls or tiptoes. And if you push it all the way, he moves at max speed. You can do the Majora's Mask roll
Yeah.
all across, which I kind of found an obnoxious way to travel in that game. But Jared made it look really fun. I didn't try it in Mario, but he was just kind of like Sonic the Hedgehogging all over New Donk City. I'm like, what game is this? And I'm sold on it. I'm sold. It's going to be a lot of fun. My hope for it is that it's not like the Bee outfit in Mario Galaxy, where they give you this really cool little suit, and then they force you to jump in the water or do something where all of a sudden you can't have that suit anymore. Yeah. I'm hoping that it allows me to explore these suits more on my terms than some of the previous Mario iterations, where it was in a vacuum. You could only do it in one small section. I kind of want to run around New Donk City as a dinosaur. I don't know if that there's ever going to be a situation in which you can do that, because we already know it has kinds of segmented worlds. Maybe you can only be a dinosaur in the dinosaur world. But I hope I get to thoroughly explore as what I want to be, because that's what my mind is starting to create now.
I know that from a costume perspective, you can wear – I think you can wear any costume you want in any world that you want, but there's certain properties of each costume that you're going to want to kind of pair up to the world that you're going to, based on what I think I saw in the treehouse. So I could be completely wrong, but I haven't played the game. But
costumes is different than capturing, because like the T-Rex isn't a costume. The T-Rex is like a T-Rex. I doubt they're going to let me go Godzilla on King Kong in New Donk City, because that would be amazing. That would be amazing. Like that's where I'm at. So the game has shown me enough promise to know that if all it is what I've seen, I'm going to have a lot of fun with that game, and so are my kids. And speaking of kids, when I saw the co-op mode, I'm like, yes, this is exactly how I want to co-op in this. I can help my kid along if she's having a hard time, and I'll be that hat and I'll collect the stuff and give her something to jump on. Or if I want to play the game and she wants to play with me, she could be my hat. So there's all kinds of different ways for a parent gamer where I feel like you can make meaningful progress in this game without a young cooperative player holding you back. So I love that Nintendo always finds a way to balance different skill levels. And this is a really, really cool way to incorporate more than one player. Way cooler than the Star Shooter with the Wii Remote controller. So that's probably what I'm most excited about this game, is getting to play it with my kids. And it made me really badly wish that Wolf Link could be that in Breath of the Wild. I wish that Wolf Link could kind of be like
great.
Tails from Sonic the Hedgehog, where, if he dies, oh well, he's just kind of off to the side. He comes back later. But if I could just have one of my kids like running around as Wolf Link, or if I could be Wolf Link in their game, that would be amazing. So amazing. So Cappy's kind of like a less cool version of Wolf Link, but still, I'll take it. I'm glad he's there.
I can't wait. But again, this one's coming out in October. We have a very, very busy schedule coming up in the next couple months from Nintendo. More stuff than I ever thought possible in such a short period of time. I'm incredibly jealous that both of you had the opportunity to play this and I did not, but I'll be completely surprised when it comes out in October. So
that was the fundamental problem with E3 this year, was trying to get on any machine to play any game was like a 3-hour wait.
Yeah. It was absolutely, I could probably talk about that for more time than I should, but it was pretty asinine. This year had 10,000 more people than they had last year. Does that number seem too high?
I feel like I never had less than 10,000 people in my sight line at any given moment, so I don't know. Well, how much more people can there be where you're body to body packed and you can't slide by? It was like max capacity. Whatever they hold is how many people were in there.
And Nintendo was by far the most packed booth out of anything that I saw at E3.
Absolutely.
In general, so, but that anything else you guys want to cover on Super Mario Odyssey before we move on to Zelda?
Only that I need it. So yeah, let's move along.
I think we all need this one pretty darn bad. But not a lot of time to wait. October 27th, alongside technically 5 brand new amiibo, because I believe that Koopa Troopa and Goomba are coming out on that same day as well. So lots to look forward to there. TJ, I know you're going to be super excited about this next one. This is the expansion pass. We don't necessarily need to go into a lot of detail on expansion pass 1 because we pretty much know everything there is to know about it. But if you want to give just like a brief overview of what's in it, because we have a hard mode coming to it. We also have a brand new like gauntlet challenge type mode that I think a lot of people are going to enjoy quite a bit. There's a little bit of controversy, it looks like, about the hard mode too, that I know that you might want to touch on. But then we'll go into Expansion Pass 2, which is going to have, I think, the majority of the big stuff.
Yeah, for a while now, we've known all of what the Expansion Pack 1 has in it. And the only really critical piece of information that we didn't yet know was when. We had a range. Yeah. And so they answered that question. And fortunately, it was so close. So last Friday, we got the 3 new amiibo. And next Friday, we get to hunker down and go on new journeys and have new adventures in Hyrule with this hard mode. I'll come back to that. But we got the Trial of the Sword, where you can unlock the full potential of the Master Sword. And seeing it, I think, got a lot of people excited. I think people were imagining a Cave of Trials, because it is very much like a Cave of Trials. But you don't just go from room to room to room. You kind of go from scene to scene to scene, where they've got an elaborate setup, and you have to somehow navigate your way through that setup, starting off in your skivvies, as little naked Sheikah underwear Link, running from point to point, trying to amass a more robust arsenal as you go. And it looks amazing. I cannot wait to play that. I want to play that so bad I cannot even begin to express with words. And what they said that we were going to see enemies in the game. Now I'm coming back to hard mode again. Sorry.
Yeah. No, you're good.
They said we were going to see enemies in the game that are harder than anything we faced so far. And when I saw the image of the gold Lionel, I was in my house. I screamed. My wife came downstairs and was like, "Is our daughter okay?" And I was like, "No, that's me. I just saw a gold Lionel." I want to fight a gold Lionel so bad. But then I started hearing some language about how we would turn on the hard mode that I'm still not completely clear on. The Treehouse had alluded to the fact that it doesn't go over your normal save file, so it won't mess up that save file. I don't want to interpret that as saying I have to start over. If what that means is to play the game in hard, I have to start from the beginning, I'm going to feel like that's an extreme betrayal of the time that I've already invested into this game, because I've already put in 300 some odd hours. I'm happy with where I'm at. I love the game. I love it a lot. But the reality is, I'm a grown man. I have a job. I have kids. I don't have another 300 hours to put into the game. I want to be able to play it on hard mode now, where I'm at in this game. I don't want to have to start over. I will, but it will make me sad. I don't want to. I don't want to have to go through and do some of that stuff. A lot of it was super fun. A lot of it's the best experience I've ever had in my life. I'm just not in a place where I can afford to do Zelda games more than once. So I make the most of the game when I play it. And Nintendo may have put me into a position where I can't make the most of the game. But here's where I'm a little confused about it. They said that you can do it on the same profile. And Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild is one of the only Zelda games where you cannot have more than one profile. You actually have to make a separate account. You can make as many accounts as you can make. So you could, like my daughter and I have separate games and they don't influence or affect each other. But she can't play her Breath of the Wild on my profile. But I can play the hard mode on my own profile, which would lead me to think that maybe I can just kind of turn it on and off. But then I'm confused by the save mechanic. How does it not then affect or overwrite what I've established in normal mode? Do you guys have any more information about that? Is it just me, or was that confusing?
We have nothing. I have absolutely no clue on how this is going to happen. Part of me feels like Nintendo wouldn't go that route, like forcing you to start over. I could be wrong. Maybe they have no other way of like activating like how save files are going to work. I have no clue. I'm going to just kind of go on a limb and say I don't think that that's going to be the case, though. I have a feeling that they will work around it somehow and allow you to swap between difficulties. Most Zelda games have been... Well, actually...
Yeah, it's like half and half because
Yeah.
you had to beat Skyward Sword before you could play it on hero mode. But what was it, Wind Waker HD, where you can kind of turn it on and off as you wanted to?
I believe you could. And I mean, it's 2017. There's no reason why you can't swap, back and forth between difficulty modes at this point. So, but we're only a week away.
We'll find out soon. Is it too much to ask to just run to the Coliseum, put down my warp medallion, and then just have Tingle beat up a gold Lionel? That's all I want out of life.
That's all the man wants.
Just give it to him, Nintendo. Come on.
And I'm curious to know, and maybe they did say this at the Treehouse, one of the other difficult things about being at E3, I mean, it's great. I'm not complaining. I'm grateful to have been able to be there. But watching the Treehouse and getting moment-to-moment coverage is really hard when you're on the floor. So we sometimes miss some of the details. So if you hear me say something that's already been confirmed, I'm sorry. But I don't know if we have to go find the Phantom Armor, the Tingle Tights, the Majora's Mask, or if they just kind of grant it to you, say, dun, 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 here you go. Or if it's like the DLC incentive pack where you have the Switch t-shirt hidden somewhere in the world and you have to go find that treasure chest. I kind of hope that is the case because that would be super cool. And I also really like that the Hero's Path mode, which I guess most people haven't exceeded its record capacity, but I'm like 100 hours past what it can record. So I'll get to see what the last 200 hours of my adventure looked like on the map. And in 300 hours, you would think a man has amassed a respectable level of Koroks. But I will say I've never Korok hunted. But, you find quite a few just walking about on your adventures. If I see something that looks like a Korok, I go for it. I have 150. 150 Koroks. So I want that. I want that Korok mask to go on and just kind of shuffle my way around. And when I hear that little shaky leaf thing, I get some rustling of the leaves on my face, then I know I can go get another Korok. Because, the game's not complete unless you have some golden Hestu's gift, right?
I have already come to terms with me not getting that precious gift.
Me too.
So it is what it is. I do want to talk about the Champions Ballad real quick, too. So the Champions Ballad is DLC Pack 2. It's coming alongside 4... Look at that.
Because I knew I was never going to get it in the game, so I made an amiibo of the most unattainable item in Breath of the Wild. Hestu's gift.
Very nice.
That would sell like hotcakes, by the way.
Who doesn't want that?
So we have the Champions Ballad. It's coming alongside 4 brand new amiibo that we already talked about earlier. We have very little information about what this will be. It will feature the 4 champions that are also going to be featured as amiibo, and Zelda is also on the primary artwork for this game. This either means that we get to either explore how Link had experiences with these 5 characters, and that's what I'm guessing that's what it's going to be, because I don't want to get too hyped up. If I had to put money on it right now, it's going to be Link gets a small story where he gets to explore how he met Daruk, how he met pretty much everybody else, and then he'll fight alongside them for whatever reason. What I would like to see would be you get to play as these characters, but for $20 DLC for Nintendo to create a brand new playable character, not once, but potentially 5 times, seems like a little bit of a big ask. But that's what I'd like to see. We have no idea what it's going to be at this point. I'm guessing that we're going to have to wait until the end of summer or early fall before Nintendo announces anything on that. But Ricky, what are your thoughts on the Champions Ballad?
More than anything, I'm just excited for more story for the game. I really, really like it when they delve into the lore like this. And considering how both hands-on and hands-off the lore is in Breath of the Wild, with how you can pretty much experience as much of it as you like, but there's plenty of subtle stuff. Yeah. I would like to see this kind of more direct storytelling, especially if it's kind of in its own separate mode, not to take away from the mystique and the wonder of the wild. It's one of those things where I grew to like all 4 of these champions. I want to learn a little bit more about them. So I'm really excited that they are the focus. It's not just, hey, more Link fun times, guys. It's no, regardless of if you're playing as Link or not, this is going to be their story by the looks of it. And that has me excited more than anything.
like I said, I'm not holding my breath for new playable characters, but I'd love to see it. In the posters, though, Zelda is front and center. So
and no link to be seen.
Yeah, this could very well be something a little bigger than what I thought initially.
Maybe you play as Cass.
Yay!
Everyone stream.
Like a rhythm game of some sort.
Hey, I would love that. Okay.
Accordion hero.
Yes.
Oh goodness.
I'd pick that up.
Oh,
so
you know,
again, the very first piece of the expansion pass comes out this Friday. The next piece comes out holiday. Do we have an exact release date on that yet?
I don't believe so.
No, not
before Christmas. It's going to be a good Christmas, though. It's going to be like, in my opinion, this is like a brand new Zelda game for me, so I'm incredibly excited for this. So expect more information on that in the coming weeks/months. We'll report on it as soon as we know anything over at NintendoWire.com. Now, we might not have the time to cover a lot of the smaller games, but I do want to give a little bit of time here for Metroid. A little bit of time. Real quick, before we go into Samus Returns, I want to talk about Metroid Prime 4. I also want to talk about a video that I uploaded to my Twitter account that shows the Nintendo Wire team losing their collective minds. I warned people when I uploaded that video that it was going to be loud, and people are still like, you broke my speakers, bro. It was one of the most amazing experiences I think I've ever had, like in a group setting before. But when they showed off that number 4 in the middle of the screen, and then they showed Metroid Prime 4. So, TJ, I know you're not the biggest Metroid fan, but I want you to mention this first. I want you to talk about this first because you told me there was no way this was going to happen.
Yeah. Just like Nintendo made my E3 dreams come true with more Zelda amiibo, I remember you talking about a couple newscasts back that you want that Metroid Prime 4. And I was very, very adamant that not only would that not be happening, but that the Prime series, if it ever came back, it would be rebooted. You would not be getting a sequel for what you've already gotten, because I feel like it might turn off people who haven't played the game yet. But what Nintendo did with the Splash title, that's all it was a lot more powerful than just words on a screen. It was a declaration of intent. They're saying, this is happening. The game that you've been asking for is in development. We have nothing to show you. Don't expect to see anything. We don't got gameplay. We don't got story. We probably haven't even written a single code, but it got the green light, and this is coming out. And that is extremely impactful and very strategically placed in the spotlight so that you have that front and center in your minds before they start talking anything else Metroid. Yeah. But you always say your predictions are never right. In this case, you predicted the most. Okay, Bayonetta, you were dead on. You acknowledge that one.
Thank you.
But this one, 3 years in a row, I've been like, it's Metroid's time. They're gonna say something. It's got to be time. And this year was the first time I'm like, Mother 3 is never gonna happen. I'm sorry, people. I wish for you it would happen. It's never gonna happen.
Poor Ricky.
Metroid has now entered into Mother 3 territory, where every year you hope, and every year your dreams are crushed. And so I was confident going into this E3 it was not going to be there. Not only did another mainline Metroid get confirmed, but it is confirmed as a Prime, and it's confirmed as a sequel. So hats off to you for not losing faith and keeping the hope. And Nintendo gave you not just what you want, but also what you deserve.
I'm just happy because Metroid Prime is one of the only first-person shooter / puzzle games that has caught my attention, other than Portal. Portal probably takes the cake in the first-person shooter puzzle category. But Metroid Prime, I feel like, did it way before anybody else had the collective balls to do it. I still remember the collectibles, the RPG elements that we had in Metroid Prime, the very first one on the GameCube, the puzzle-solving mechanics, the different arm cannons to open certain doors. There was so much to it. So it was one of these things that I knew it was going to happen eventually, and I'm happy that it's finally happening. So because I don't want to go into like a whole discussion on what could this be. Because we know next to nothing about this game other than supposedly it's coming in 2018. But we do know a heck of a lot about this 2D, 3D / hybrid.
Well, we
Metroid
do
Samus
know that
Returns.
we do know that it's not coming in 2018 because we have enough experience with
Yeah.
Nintendo.
We know that they've announced it's coming in 2018, which means it's holiday 2020.
Yes, that is exactly what it means.
For
Happy
the
Olympics.
Yeah,
Yep.
there you go.
We can pick it up when we go to Nintendo World.
When the Switch U comes out in 2021, it'll be
The,
the launch title.
the new Switch U.
The new Switch U with Knuckles,
Yeah.
featuring Dante from the Devil May Cry series. So we know a lot about Metroid Samus Returns. This is coming out on the 3DS. This was not even in the main presentation. This was in the Treehouse. They're like, oh, and by the way, here's another Metroid game for you nerds. And this one's coming out like in 2 months, which I'm still shocked about. Again, we get 2 brand new amiibo with this one. We get a brand new Samus amiibo, and we get a Metroid amiibo with the squishy top. But I think the big thing about this one, it's a complete reimagining of Metroid 2. I think now we know why they shut down the Metroid 2 fan project, because this bad boy was coming out, and Nintendo hates fan projects. Just saying. But it's exciting. There's a lot of mechanics in this one. We know there's going to be some level of amiibo support because there's amiibo in the game. Ricky, what are your thoughts on this upcoming 3DS title?
I'm really excited because I definitely prefer the 2D Metroids to the 3D ones. Prime is fantastic, and Prime 4 got the bigger reaction out of me. But this one is... I guess I got to give a brief history lesson here. I really hadn't played a lot of Metroid until an old buddy from, elementary or maybe junior high school let me borrow Zero Mission.
Yeah.
And that was the reimagining of the very first Metroid. And they knocked it out of the park. They definitely kept the feel of the game while maintaining the growth of presentation and just the conveniences of the console it was on. And if they can do that again with Metroid 2, which from what I've seen is probably one of the least this could be awesome. It's a year of reimagining sophomore efforts because we already had Fire Emblem Echoes and now it's Metroid's turn.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things where I really want to see what the amiibo can do, because that could be something really cool. But I'm hoping that it captures that sort of isolated feel and that sort of spooky space terror that you don't really get in a lot of games these days, because it's always more overdone, like, oh, look, there's gore, cool. I mean, not from Nintendo, but just from in general. From this, I want to be scared because I am alone, I'm in space, and there are Metroid about. And I think that they can nail it.
I'm not holding my breath for the amiibo functionality in this game. If I think back in the past 2 years, there's probably like 4 games where I would say, wow, they knocked amiibo support for this game out of the park.
Right.
The most recent one is probably Fire Emblem Echoes, where I thought they did a great job with how they implemented amiibo. Smash Brothers is outrageous. That's how every amiibo game should be. It's just the fact that Pokken didn't have something similar where you could train a fighter does not compute with me. If you have a fighting game and you have an amiibo, you put like some sort of like mechanic in there where they can fight.
Nintendo has been getting better because the Animal Crossing welcome amiibo was awesome.
Yeah.
That's what it should have been from the beginning. Yeah. And then Breath of the Wild. I think Breath of the Wild killed it. And the coolest amiibo functionality to date is Wolf Link, in my opinion. And I think the Metroid is going to be the Wolf Link of Metroids in that game. I think you're going to get a baby. I think the baby's going to get summoned to follow you around to do some regular assist, and that's going to make me buy the game. That's what it would take. I like Metroid. I respect Metroid. I can't play those games, but as I'm watching this 2D one, I'm like, wait a second. My problem with the game is navigation. Now I have a second map where I can put down pins. My problem with the game is not being able to shoot at the angle that I want to hit my enemies. Oh, now I have 360-degree rotation of my cannon. I hate that the enemy gets too close and I can't fight them because I don't have any sort of counter. Oh, now there's a close-range counter. I'm like, wait a second. I might love this game.
Yeah.
And they're finding a way to capture the imagination and the excitement of somebody who historically does not spend money on Metroid games. That's me. So if that is a Wolf Link amiibo that can come and help, there's no way I'm not buying it.
You heard it here, folks. This is TJ's prediction on what this amiibo is going to do. If he's right, we will roll back this footage, and I'll put this up as a separate video. Because I think you're the first person to say that. I've not heard any other... Has anybody else said that? Have you gotten that idea from somebody else?
I've never heard it
I
anywhere.
haven't heard it. But
All right, it's an original TJ idea.
Well, it's Nintendo's idea. They did it in Breath of the Wild. I just hope that they implement it in this game, because that would be awesome. And what makes it even cooler is that we know that Samus has the baby Metroid and she has the big heart, and that's kind of what gets her into some of the trouble. But if we can take this bad guy and it be like a good bad guy, that's kind of even cooler than with Wolf Link. But part of the reason why I think maybe they push this into the treehouse and not in the spotlight is what I found myself thinking, and maybe I'm the only person who thought this, was it highlights one of the weaknesses of the Switch. Because what makes this game so cool and what makes me want to play this game is completely dependent on the second screen. And that's something that you lose with the Switch. And they highlight it and they point it out. And they even talked about what is the reason why we're putting it on this platform. Like, it's the best suited for it. This game wouldn't work as well on any of the other platforms that we currently support. So I'm like, yeah, that's right. Even if I have some dream that someday I'm going to be able to play my 3DS games on the Switch, there's really no good way to do that. So
I already miss the second screen in some cases on the Switch, which is kind of bizarre. I mean, with the Wii U, it was cumbersome to have that gigantic controller. But my God, were there some amazing uses of that second screen.
I often fantasize about how much better Breath of the Wild would be if it was not on the Switch. Because
they would have added so many other features to it.
It would have legitimately been a Sheikah slate, exactly like how you use it for HD Wind Waker. Wind Waker HD gave you the idea about all my complaints about the game, which are still minor. They don't impede my joy too much. But inventory management. I'm sure it would have been a touch interface where you just shuffle through and grab your weapon. I'm sure that you have the map constantly displayed. You don't even need to pause the game or stop the game. And you kind of can't do that if you want people to buy it on the Switch, because it would obviously make the Wii U the definitive version.
Well, it's hard for me. I would love to see what's on the cutting room floor. Because there's a lot of cutting room floor like content for that game. But
seriously,
we have one screen now. It is
what
it is.
It is what it is.
Been pushing two screens for the longest time, so it's growing pains. But
we grew up on one screen and we loved it. And going back to one screen is fine. But because we have been experiencing two for so long, it is a little bit of a period of adjustment.
I mean, technically, with the Joy-Cons, they could release like a little screen that you can clip on, right?
Could you imagine? I wonder if the day will ever come when the Switch does not necessarily have to be docked.
Yeah.
I try to think of some of the Wii U greats and how they could improve on those or iterate on those on the Switch, like Mario Maker. How do you put Mario Maker on the Switch? I don't know.
Yeah.
I would be sad if that game ended.
It would have to be handheld only, which I don't think Nintendo wants in any way, shape, or form for their first-party stuff. The whole point is, clip in, clip out. So, but Metroid: Samus Returns is coming out on September 15th alongside two brand new amiibo. In the U.S., they come in a bundle. In Europe and in Japan, they come separately. So, just a quick heads up on that one in case you are in any of those other countries. New amiibo, new Samus, new Metroid game. I'm excited all around.
Mm-hmm.
We have enough time, I think, for one more really quick topic, because this already went over longer than I thought it was going to, because I think we spent a little bit too much time on amiibo, which I can't. How could that happen?
Wow.
Why don't we talk real quick about Fire Emblem Warriors, which for some reason is not playing. Did I not have it? Oh, there we go.
There we go.
All right. Who here played it? Just TJ.
I missed out.
Ricky, TJ, I want you to talk about your impressions playing it, but Ricky, I want you to talk about your impressions being a massive Fire Emblem fan real quick.
Yeah, you
and
got
then
it.
TJ, I'll let you kind of end this segment with how you felt about the gameplay, because you're a huge Hyrule Warriors fan. So go ahead, Ricky.
Yeah, you got it. So we got a new trailer. That was the first kind of thing that we saw for it during the whole of E3. We had already learned about these 2 original characters that were going to be added into the game and kind of carry its narrative. But we also got the confirmation on characters that we pretty safely guessed were going to be in the game. Those being Xander, Ryoma, and Corrin, though it's the female version of Corrin, which seems to kind of be the more popular one at this point, all things considered, which I'm okay with. It's what I like to play as in Smash. It works out. And we got to see Marth in action, who was recently confirmed. And the way that they play, from what I've seen, is pretty good and pretty fair to how they are in their games. Obviously, there's not a lot to work with respect to the just Fire Emblem games in general. But what I've seen, Marth has a lot of touches from Super Smash Bros., which is really cool, seeing those moves in a completely new environment. We've got Xander as the first mounted character for the game, so they're keeping that element, which is a big part of Fire Emblem, particularly some of the older iterations. And then Corrin has a lot of moves where she transforms into that dragon form of hers, which, again, adds more variety to the potential of the movesets and just the potential of the characters overall. There's lots of depth with what you can see with Fire Emblem characters, so I want to see more characters like that. I don't need more, look, they have blue hair and they have a sword. Cool! So I want to see what they can do beyond that, which they're delivering on. And even characters with swords and, more characters with swords and, another character with a sword, they're still finding ways to make them distinct within the game. So I'm still excited, especially after hearing what other members of the team have said being able to play it. That was the big miss for me during E3 was I just couldn't get my hands on it. But I'm looking forward to playing it next month at a different event. So take it away, TJ.
I spent 3 days trying to get in to play that game. They only had 2 demo kiosks, and the line was never less than 3 hours long. So I waited until we got in with Nintendo, and that really helped. And so I sat down with the rep, and, well, I should say sat down, but I stood up with the rep because this is not the kind of game you sit down and play. And it was really fun. It's what you expect from a Warriors-style game, but it does build upon what Hyrule Warriors was. So you do get a little bit more strategy, and it's probably closer in relation to Hyrule Warriors Legends than Hyrule Warriors for the Wii U, because you can access different warriors on the battlefield at the same time, which I find so riveting. It's such a small change, but one of the things I hated in Hyrule Warriors was, even though the characters could move so fast, sometimes there was something going on in the opposite corner of where I was, and that particular mission didn't afford me enough time to be able to get there to achieve whatever thing I was trying to do. And in this game, you've got like 3 or 4 characters, at least the stage that I played, on the map at one time. And with the click of a button, you're all of a sudden assuming the identity of that character. So I started out playing the blonde male twin boy, and I was going around and just using the incredibly refined strategy of mashing the Y button repeatedly, and by pushing bad guys into the corner and continuing to rain down Ys upon them until they died. And I was having great fun doing that. The animations are super smooth and they look really cool, but then all of a sudden it's like, oh, there's a big block of red bad guys over in one of these areas that I need to conquer, and I'm super far away. I just press one button and now, boom, I'm Chrom. And I'm like, yes! And what's really awesome about it is, in order to win as Chrom, I pressed the Y button repeatedly and pushed the bad guys into the corner. I experienced absolutely zero lag from one character to the next. I was fully integrated into what Chrom was all about within seconds. And then I realized there was Marth in the game, who is, by and large, the only Fire Emblem character insofar as I'm concerned. And I pushed the button, I'm over it, and I'm Marth now. And unlike the other 2 guys, he's a little bit trickier. You push the Y button repeatedly and push the bad guys in the corner, and that's how you win with him. But I just get you know, you don't play the game for super strategic battles. You play the game so that you can feel like a master of the battlefield, owning and poning bad guy after bad guy. But they do incorporate some really interesting strategic features. They do incorporate the weapons triangle, although it's not quite clear yet how that is because the demo only featured sword fighters. But they did confirm that there are going to be spear wielders and axe wielders. But there's this cool little mechanic where if you get close to an ally, so I was Crom, and I went and found Marth on the battlefield, and we had built up our battle power. I'm not sure exactly what it's called. You have this little meter, and when you beat bad guys, it gets filled up. And if you're near somebody who's a friend, you can activate like a team attack. So you guys
pairing up. You paired up, which is what they're called Fire Emblem.
So they like high-fived, they man-kissed on the cheek, Crom jumped onto Marth's back, and they leapt into the air, and beams of light flew out of their dual falchion swords. What are they called? Is that right?
You got
falchion.
it. You nailed it.
And
falchion.
all the bad guys in the area were obliterated. Manloved saved the day on that battlefield, and I cannot wait to see once I get a little bit better idea what the story's all about, because right about the time I had to stop playing, the blonde-haired girl twin came in and it started attacking me. And I'm like, whoa. So, okay, I started out as the boy, and he was my character, and I assumed a good guy. And now all of a sudden I'm getting attacked by his sister. So using the power of man love, Crom and Marth completely took her out. And it was fun, and I was wanting to see more. If you like Warriors, you're for sure going to like it. If you like Fire Emblem, I can't really say because I like Fire Emblem Heroes on the iPhone. I have fun playing a stage or two here and there and on my off time. But this is a game I'm probably going to dig into. I'm probably going to at least play through the main story. And if there's DLC, I'll probably buy it. And I think it's not a feast, but it sure is like a delicious snack.
What is the face petting situation like in this game?
Well, if there is face petting in this game, I did not encounter that part of it, but I can only imagine with the epic piggyback rides that Crom and Marth are giving each other that it's going to be some very heavy petting and
they're S rank already. It's confirmed. No, there's lots of good flourishes though from what I've seen just with both written and the video previews as far as what fans are would recognize. They recreate a lot of the sprites from the games on the menu screens, which is cool. And when you level up your characters or you rank up on the battlefield, it happens in with the Fire Emblem character level up little screen where you see their portrait. You get the dun 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 dun, and you get the whole ticks of the stats, which is cool. Otherwise, it would just be the flash of level up. It's more common in what we saw in Hyrule Warriors.
Right. I was wondering about that because every time I get a little trill from the Zelda series or a little nod to that series, it really felt like tremendous fan service to me as somebody who is deeply involved in that series. So I kind of feel sad that I'm sure a lot of love went into this Fire Emblem game, and a lot of it's going to go right over my head. So I can't wait till somebody who is really in love with it, like you or some of the other members of the team, like Ben, how it impacts you guys, if it's blasphemy, an utter disgrace of the series, or if you feel the same way that I felt about Hyrule Warriors.
It's definitely going to be something I think I'm going to be pleased with. I mean, I'll get back to you on that after I've played it, but I'll give you a full rundown on what, the little nods and stuff once I see them in motion, because I know they're there.
Yeah, tell me what I'm missing.
No, for sure. It's definitely going to be one that I want to see more of the roster. Like I was saying before, though, they've kind of hinted that it's going to be a little limited where they're pulling the characters from. But even if we just get a few from, say, the lesser-known games in the series, there's going to be something for not only Fire Emblem fans the world over, but Fire Emblem fans from each kind of generation of the series. So it's definitely going to have those moments like you got out of Hyrule Warriors.
They would be utter fools to not have every single Fire Emblem character that has ever graced Smash Brothers in this game, because they've got to be the most popular ones, right?
It would make sense to have Roy, Robin, Lucina, and all the rest come in. Ike is so popular at this point, it would be weird not to have him. So we can't confirm anything. We don't know anything, but man,
it's gonna be scattered throughout DLC over the next year. There's no way Nintendo would leave that kind of money on the table. Especially, I think Koei Tecmo has a stake in that as well. So I think that they would. At least if Nintendo was more hesitant, they'd be like, "No, we have to put this out." So.
Do you guys remember when this game first was announced? It was announced for Switch and 3DS, but there was no mention of the 3DS. Is that still happening?
Yeah, it's still supposedly day and date, 3DS and Switch. So sometime this fall. I think we saw some footage of the 3DS version during the first one. Did we see anything?
I never heard mention of it at E3. In fact, some people have been reporting that it's a Switch exclusive. They could be mistaken.
It's up. There's box art already for the 3DS, and it's up for pre-order.
Amazon. It'll probably be new 3DS only, but there is a 3DS version still in the works.
Let me pull up the box art real quick on this. This will be how we can end this segment.
Just in the meantime, with how prevalent Fire Emblem is on this, it wouldn't make sense for them not to make it for the 3DS as well.
Right.
I mean, we do have a Switch Fire Emblem game coming, supposedly 2018, but this has traditionally been a handheld series with respect to more recent iterations.
I wonder then, we were just talking about the dual screen. I wonder how they're going to play that. Is the 3DS version going to be better if you can have a touchscreen map to access on the bottom?
So it is a new 3DS exclusive, which there's like a whopping 3 of those out right now. I think Runbow Pocket, there's another one in the eShop, and Xenoblade Chronicles X. Is it X? No, not X.
Oh, not X.
Xenoblade Chronicles 3D.
Yes.
So this will be joining the elite group of new 3DS exclusives. Oh, I'm so happy they released that thing. So that's going to do it for Fire Emblem Warriors. There was other games that were brought up, but we are already like over 2 hours on this podcast, and we're not the Toys for Games cast, so we can't just keep going all night. But before we get going, I want to give everybody kind of an opportunity to say where we can find them. TJ specifically, I know you have another awesome YouTube channel that I want you to kind of let our fans know about as well, so they can check that out. And then where else we can find you?
Yeah, you can find me on my other channel. I've neglected it for many years. I'm going to start supplementing it with a little bit more content. It's a YouTube/me TJ channel, and it's not the ME kind of me. It's the MII me TJ channel. And then, of course, you're still going to continue to find stuff here on the Nintendo Wired channel. And if you want to follow some of my custom adventures that are going to be happening soon, follow me on Twitter at Custom Conquest.
There you go. Ricky, what about you? Where can we find you?
Well, more often than not, you can find my work on NintendoWire.com. And if you want to follow me on Twitter, that's at Dr. Saturn NW. That's at Dr. Saturn NW. You'll be able to hear just how happy I am about Clean Kirby coming back in Kirby 2018, the game of the show this year.
Oh, you must have been devastated that I skipped over that one.
No, you mentioned it. I'm the one who said let's talk. But that's man. True. Clean Kirby's back, Nago's back. I was so happy. Like, I can't wait for that video to come up if it comes up.
I'm just putting it on the screen as we close this out, so at least I don't totally neglect it. For my content, you can find me on my personal Twitter account at AmiiboJason, or on our other Twitter accounts at Amiibo News for Amiibo News content, which we are like 40 people away from 80,000 subscribers or 80,000 followers, which is amazing. And then you can also find us on Twitter at NinWire. Our website is NintendoWire.com, and if you're looking for pretty much any information about that, you can find it over at NintendoWire.com or right here on our YouTube channel. We're about 150 people away from hitting 25,000 subscribers, so if you're brand new and you want to support our channel, hit the subscribe button, and that would help us out a great deal. TJ, Ricky, thank you for joining us on this brand new episode of the Nintendo Newscast. Fun fact, this was actually the 48th episode of a podcast that we've done, so we're 2 episodes away from hitting 50. That's collectively over the Amiibo Newscast and the Nintendo Newscast. So we're going to have to do something special for that once we hit lucky number 50. So stay tuned for more information on that. But without further ado, that's it. Have a good morning or a good evening, depending on when you're listening and or watching this, and we'll see you guys later.
Catch you later.